this lovely day. It is so sunny outside. Anyways, I think you guys can see that the setup is a little bit different today. I'm trying something new. Yeah, I think I like this. I think in future, if I'm doing sit down videos and stuff like that, this is definitely where I want to be. I am sipping on some tea, as you can see. I hope it's not cold. Okay, it's fine. Today's video is a sit down talking video. I feel like this is something I've wanted to do for a while on my channel. I just haven't been brave enough to do that. So today is the day I put on my big girl pants and I talk about big girl things. And judging by the title of this video, you guys can see that I'm going to be talking about mental health. But yeah, I wanted to talk about mental health today. This is a very broad topic, a very serious topic. And I just feel like it's not spoken enough about within the community, whether we're looking at YouTube as a community or the black community, the black young community as well. We're getting better at it, but I just want to open that conversation up and just see what comes of it. A few disclaimers, of course. I am not a mental health expert. I'm not a practitioner. I don't practice any kind of therapy of any kind. I'm just someone who has a brain and stuff happens. You feel some type of way. So I feel like anyone with a brain can talk about this. They have an experience, they know people, and that's basically what this video is about. And also I've included some mental health advice and tips from some of the friends that I reached out to. You guys know who you are. I hope you're watching this video because I'm going to be sharing what you shared with me. Yeah, if you're interested in this video, just keep on watching and enjoy. I hope you also have a cup of tea. Let's do this. So of course I took down notes because I don't want to ramble, but do expect more talking videos from me because that's something that I definitely want to do, and I talk a lot. It's just something that I haven't really shown you guys too much on my channel. Most of the notes that I've taken in here are to help me with my talking points about my experience. I think I'm sharing everyone's opinions on this, but I just wrote them down so I know who to go to on my WhatsApp, just so I can read your guys' advice straight from there. Some of them I had to transcribe, so it's not verbatim, but I did get the essence of your voice note. So just thank you again for sharing. I think it was such a vulnerable moment for both of us. For me to ask you for that, you know, because people can think it's like, oh my gosh, is Charmaine okay? And it's also okay to not be okay. That's another thing. But yeah, I think it was a vulnerable thing on my end to ask you guys for that help, and then as well for you guys to share that. And some of you got really personal, and I appreciate that. And yeah, just thank you. I'm starting off with my experience with mental health, and I have here like this year. So where it started. So personally, I feel like maybe this is a bad thing, but like last year I felt like I was really gonna struggle with this whole like identity crisis thing. My close friends know that I mentioned that a lot of times in conversation when it come in. Sorry guys, I got interrupted briefly. My brother came in and we had a little conversation, but I think I left off by explaining that I felt like I was gonna be struggling with an identity crisis because for the longest period of my life, and maybe a lot of you guys as well, you've been a student. You've known nothing else but school. You know, yes, maybe you have your side hustles and your hobbies and your passions, which I also have, but school is, you are a student, you know. And so I felt like I was gonna possibly struggle with no longer being a student and just being in limbo. But I don't know, I just felt this thing of like, ish, why do I feel like I'm gonna struggle with that? And we're here now. If you guys don't know, it's so weird being personal. But if you guys don't know, I am living at home. I'm unemployed, seeking, of course. But yeah, there's also so many things that come with being back home, because for 4 years I was not living at home. I was out in res, and I would only come home maybe once or twice a weekend, and then obviously come home for the big holidays. But I've not been home for this long and not been doing anything. In high school, obviously, you live at home, but you have school, so 8 to 10 hours of your day are spent at school, you come home to eat and study, you know, there's not much, you know. Just the transition as well, like being completely independent, like living there on my own, making my own decisions, going wherever I want to go, just not having to ask for permission or to explain any of my actions or anything, to being home and just having that kind of restriction. And those are things that I struggle with. Even now I still struggle with it, and it's not that like my parents are super strict or anything, but it's just I also have that respect thing to not treat my home like how I was treating my apartment, you know. And I don't want to make it sound like I was going out every weekend. No. Those who know, like I don't even have to explain that, but yeah, just being home is completely different from being out there. So that's something that I definitely like struggled with. And then on top of that, you want to pile on not graduating because of COVID. Yo, that hurt a lot of us. That hurt a lot of us, not being able to graduate and not being able to have that moment, especially because on a more deeper level, like in first year, that was something that we motivated ourselves with, you know what I mean? We would like literally study for an exam or a test and be like, no, it's fine, like Great Hall, like my day is coming. Great Hall, if you don't know, is the graduation hall that people graduate at or in at Wits. So it was like, that was a piece of motivation, you know, and to have that moment that your university recognizes you as a graduate. And that whole moment, you guys know, if you guys have graduated, or if you know, have friends who've graduated or have siblings who graduated, you know that that moment is really special. Not just for the graduate themselves, but also for the family, because sometimes those kids are first generation university attendees and graduates. So just that whole moment as well. And then obviously COVID, I think all of us are struggling with that in whatever way it is. You hear on the news that gender-based violence has increased. You hear about child abuse also increasing. But yeah, that is kind of what was going on as well. There are a lot more personal things as well that I am not going to get into, because I don't feel like everybody needs to know that stuff of my life, you know. But those are some of the things that I was going through, plus the personal stuff that was really, really weighing on me as well. And it's kind of tough going through those things. Hello?
Hey.
How
you doing?
Good, and you? Yes. So many interruptions today. Love that for me. But yeah, I think feeling alone going through those super personal things as well is also like a super big challenge, because you are experiencing this thing completely different from how the people around you are also experiencing that thing. I don't want to ramble too much and not get to the juice of this video. So how I coped. So it's funny because in Jan I decided to journal. Like I was like, okay, my good sis, we're doing this year. Throughout my life I've always had journals, like as a kid, but I've never really like journaled properly and actually assessed my feelings and that kind of thing. So this year I took it upon myself to take journaling really seriously, and that's been like a life-changing experience for me personally. It's just helped me assess my feelings, break them down into different categories, assessing triggers, past experiences and how they've molded me, the anxiety that comes with those feelings. It's been really helpful. Here's my journal actually. This is what it looks like. This was getting me through all my feelings for the past 6-7 months of the year. It's been really great. I have so many video ideas that are coming with regards to this entire topic, so I'm not going to get into it too much of how I journaled or tips and tricks. That'll be a separate video on its own. Crying. So for me, I find that crying is very what's the word? It feels not refreshing, that's not the word that I would call it, but like it's an experience. It's important for me sometimes to just cry, because I know in society we have this culture of like, don't victimize yourself, like no, just like shed your tear and get over it. And it's like, I hear that because a lot of solutions are built out of like, okay, I've had my moment, let me move on. But also like being able to just cry and have that moment is also super important. I'm the type, I don't want to have like a build-up of emotions, so I would like to cry and get it over with and feel like a victim in that moment. Ooh. Yeah, and just be able to feel everything that I'm feeling in that moment. And then also venting. So for me, when I vent, I'm gonna hit this dog from here. Also being able to talk to people and vent to certain people, I think is very important when it comes to this topic. Whether it's a professional, whether it's your friends, whether it's family, whatever. Like, there's no cookie cutter way to dealing with your emotions. Some people talk to God and they're fine and they never have to see a professional. Some people talk to God and they talk to friends. Some people just talk to friends. Some people just talk to strangers. Some people just, whatever works for you personally. You don't need to feel this pressure to talk to someone specific or have some sort of cookie cutter way of dealing with your emotions. We don't view things the same, so you shouldn't try and deal with the situation the same. Where I am now, so I'm still like working on these feelings, these thoughts, these emotions, these experiences, especially because some of them are very real and close to me. And that is what this journey has taught me, that you're not always going to be able to just pack your bags and leave a situation, ditch a friend, ditch a job. You're not always going to be able to remove yourself from that situation. What you need to learn to do is find coping mechanisms for you to cope and deal with whatever that situation makes you feel while being in that situation, because you're not always going to have the luxury of being able to leave. And that is what this journey has taught me, that a lot of the things that are triggers for anxiety or depression or any kind of mental trigger are not always so, oh, I'll just cut them off. In situations where you can, I would 100% say that you should be selfish with yourself. You should be selfish with your time and your love and your heart and your health. I think for me as well, in this time, I've learned to really introspect some of the feelings that I'm feeling. And I mentioned that when I was talking about journaling and how it's really helped me deeply analyze my feelings and why I feel that way and how I can help myself not feel that way, and helping myself find a way to identify triggers for future experiences that may make me feel that way. It's been a really amazing learning experience within myself. That's really it on my end with my experience. Maybe in another video I could get more into it, just because I'm so excited to get into what you guys had to share, because for me that is the highlight of this video. I'm so excited. So I think I figured out a way on how to introduce each and every single person who has shared something with me. I will either say that you are a family friend, a close friend, a friend, someone from school. Anyways, let's get into this. So this advice is from a family friend. Hey, that's great that you are doing a video on mental health. My advice is the usual. Speak to someone, no matter if it feels like you are tiring people. There will always be that one person that will understand you and your problems. My one friend did that for me. She's a very patient person and a very good listener. So in that dark period I was in, she did me a solid. I do believe in speaking out and sharing problems and thoughts with others, as is therapeutic for me. Another thing people need to stop with is the self-sabotage. That just leads to self-induced depression. I think my issues came from self-sabotage and just having too many life expectations. I used to be a big planner, and what happened is my plans wouldn't follow through, and that would throw me off, especially all these failed plans of mine lead to me being disappointed, and after several disappointments I just found myself in a dark space. My approach to a healthy mental state is to have no expectations, do things having optimism, but try being neutral at the same time, knowing that sometimes things can turn out either way. You can't always control the outcome. And I think what she had to say here was so true as well and so relatable. Thank you. So this is from my cousin. Shout out to you. Daily meditation. Find something to keep you busy. When you want to drown, focus on your strengths. Get some rest. Invest time in self-motivation or self-encouragement. Exercise. Exercising can help eliminate low mood, anxiety, and stress. Find ways to effectively manage stress levels. Ask for help. Strong support systems are vital. Set realistic goals for yourself. This person did mention to me that they wanted to expand on what they had to say, but I think it's fine. I think we get the gist of what they're saying, and I like the practical approach that they've laid this out in as well. So thank you for sharing. So this person is a friend from varsity. So they actually shared with me that they needed this advice. They actually hadn't confronted the feelings that they were facing with regards to the life change that happened in their life. So this person gave advice specific to grief counseling and mourning the loss of a loved one. So this is what they had to say. Grief counseling helped me wrap my head around losing my person. I had a lot of questions when that person passed on because it didn't make sense why they passed on the way they did. Plus, I was really upset at God for not healing that person, even though I'd been earnestly praying for that person. So grief counseling helped me come to terms with the death, and now I'm not as upset about losing that person because I know that person's in a better place now. It's just a matter of being upset whenever I miss that person. And I've never tried normal counseling because I never really had any mental issues or need for therapy. Thank you so much for sharing this. I can see that this comes from a place of genuinely wanting to help others as well, and I really appreciate it. I just want to say again, guys, I really appreciate the advice that you're sharing, and I'm hoping you watching, you're getting something from this as well. This is also a friend from varsity, and this is what they had to say. I'm not the biggest mental health expert, but I think one bit of advice I can share is that it's okay to not feel okay, and that our feelings are valid, and that we shouldn't feel bad for feeling the way we do, and that we shouldn't have to suffer these bad feelings by ourselves. That's very true, and thank you. So this advice comes from a friend from varsity as well, who I know on a more personal level as well, and this is what they had to say. Number one, so firstly, I think it's very important to know that mental health isn't this weird thing that only few live through. I lived a good 21 years of my life without knowing I actually had general anxiety disorder. I thought it was just nerves or a reaction, and only when I started therapy did I get to understand what it actually was. I'd literally go back 5 or 10 years and remember a moment where I'd have an anxiety attack. So a lot of people have mental health issues. A lot just don't acknowledge them for what they are, and if you've acknowledged it, you've passed your first step. 2, forget the stigma. It honestly hinders progress, or you won't deal with it at all. People will look at you funny, or they will even overcompensate in trying to be there for you. So it's very important to set boundaries to the people around you when you're on your journey. 3, learning that mental health is basically your body sending a signal to you showing that it isn't well. The difficulty in this is that it's usually a biological chemical imbalance that you can't control. Hence, the help of a psychiatrist can come handy, as pills can help balance you out. Pills are frustrating. They can change your weight and your mood. Have an extensive conversation with your doctor and hopefully get the least amount of pills possible. However, number 4, pills alone can never do the job. The job lies in you and learning and unlearning. This will help you get to a point where you can live without pills. The best way to do this is self-awareness. So for example, when I get into a physical fight, whether I win or lose, I'll get an anxiety attack because I'm acting out of character. So now I had to learn to completely avoid heated altercations. So your body really tells you when you're doing something that it was naturally built to do. Number 5, when learning or unlearning, it's very helpful to have people around you who aren't yes men. People who can be honest about your flaws without being harsh. Some of my friends would tell me I've got anger issues and I need help. Which leads to this point. Number 6, be willing to listen. On your journey with mental health, you'll learn a lot more from people around you than you can from yourself. Weirdly enough, your people can know your toxic traits that cripple us more than we do. Because at times it's become so natural that we think it's who we are. It's just who I am. I can't change who I am are the perfect excuses to stay in the same place. Be careful not to protect your toxicity. Lastly, love yourself through the process. Some days it'll be hard, but it's okay. Let other people love you. Have a support system. A lot of people make the mistake of dealing with mental health by trying to get through it as quickly as possible. However, to balance your emotions and cognitive skills, it takes a lot of trial and error with awareness. The awareness allows you to make changes, and change is a slow process. And also, I want to say, It is absolutely possible to live with a mental illness and be in control of it. I'm at that place now. I'm living a really peaceful life now, but you really have to commit to getting better and doing better. Activities that will help with mental health. Exercising, it can honestly make you feel a lot better about you. Number 2, journaling. Number 3, meditating. There are different forms, so you can research those. Number 4, talking and owning your mental health issue. The more you talk about it or tell people, the more in control you are over it. 5, simple things like making your bed, dressing up, eating food you like. Take yourself out on lunch dates and movie dates alone. Spoil yourself every now and again, especially when you do well. I said a whole lot. Hopefully there are things you can use. Do send me the link when you've posted the video. I'd love to hear what you and others have to say. Because I know this person on a more personal level, I asked them what their experience was with going to like facilities that help with mental health and that sort of thing. Okay, most definitely would recommend it, but there are other facilities other than blank. However, I think it's important to know exactly what you want to get out of the process, because a lot of people get lost in it and it becomes very hard to get out. A lot of trauma bonds are built in there. People date in there, which is not advisable, but when you are there in there for 3 weeks, you're bound to connect to someone. All in all, the classes are very helpful, to be honest, but it's up to you to want to learn. When you get discharged, it's really hard applying things in the real world. So it's sort of a continuous process. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it was so detailed. Like, the advice is real. Like, it's real advice. It's not sugar-coated. It's, when I read this, I personally learned so much as well, to apply for my situation. Yeah, I wanted to make this video to share these things with you guys so that we can have a conversation about it and maybe bring together minds that wouldn't necessarily meet in the real world, and just have an open and honest conversation about this. So I'm really grateful that you guys are sharing this stuff with me. And yeah, wow. So this advice comes from a friend that I know. To speak up to those you trust the most and those that will support you, but you need to know what kind of support you need. Family would preferably be the first, especially your parents, and be open about what you're going through and why you're going through it. And also prayer and believing you will overcome what you're going through, no matter what the outcome is. Focus on yourself and being better. External things will not go away. Your life and your mental health matters more. That's amazing advice, and I think I touched on what she said about external things will not go away. I spoke about that as well. That's very true. But yeah, this advice is also really great, and thank you so much for sharing. And that about wraps up part 1. I'm sorry I had to cut it there. I know it was getting super juicy. I know. It wasn't an easy decision to split it up, but I think that's the best way for us to have a cohesive conversation. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with long videos. Maybe eventually I'll work up to that, but for now I'm going to split it up. And yeah, I'm going to look exactly the same in both parts because I'm filming it on the same day. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And up until my next video, which is definitely going to be part 2, I will see you guys.